Hey English 1102 friends, this is a guide specifically to the bibliographic essay assignment for this class. So to do this, I'm going to try to walk you through both the basic process of doing this and what I'll be grading for when I grade it. So to do this assignment, the first thing you need to do is go into the research topics master list right here and pick a topic. And let me know that topic so I can write your name on the list and know what you're going to work with, because you're going to use that topic both for the bibliographic essay and the research paper. And part of what I want to emphasize in this video is how the bibliographic essay is different from the research paper. Some students have done a research paper, they might have done one in high school. Often though, when I talk to students in this class, they've never done a bibliographic essay and don't know what it is. And part of that is because a lot of different disciplines in college do bibliographic essays, but there's several different names for them. Like in the humanities, in English and history, they're often called bibliographic essays. Like the nursing faculty call them literature reviews. So they're known by a few different names. You also see people do annotated bibliographies. Annotated bibliographies are essentially a bibliographic essay with no introduction or conclusion. So what I'd like to do is, once you've got your topic picked, I want to walk you through some of the instructions that are in D2L, but I also want to tell you on a very basic level what I'm going to be looking for and grading for. And for that, I want to first jump to the student bibliographic essay. I'm going to go to student bibliographic essay sample number 2. Let me see. Because there's just a very basic thing that I want to emphasize to you about what I'm grading for when I grade this paper. So I'm going to scroll down to it here. This is a sample paper that a student wrote several years ago. It's an A paper. This is a paper, okay, so here's what I'm grading for. You got the student's name, the date, English 1102, bibliographic essay, here's the student's name. Then you got a title, first thing I'm looking for. This student just went basic and decided to call this sources related to eating disorders. Okay, that's fine, because on a really basic level, that's what this is a paper about, is 4 sources related to eating disorders. The next thing I'm grading for is, if you do this assignment correctly, it has to have 6 paragraphs. And you can see that's what this person ended up with. One paragraph, 2 paragraphs. Third paragraph starts a most interesting source. Fourth paragraph, for people seeking to learn about eating disorders via television, so fourth one. Fifth paragraph is those wishing to review a study investigating treatments. And then 6th paragraph is this short little conclusion. This person did it right. I can never read a word of this paper and know they did it basically right, because I got 6 paragraphs. So I got an introduction, 4 body paragraphs that are each about one specific source, and then a conclusion. If you do this right, it has to have 6 paragraphs. Introduction and conclusion, and 4 body paragraphs in the middle that are each about one particular source. And then at the end of that, the few things this person did wrong, it is works cited. If you've got 4, it's plural, W-O-R-K-S, works cited, and then their MLA works cited list. There you go. On a basic level, on the most basic level, that's what I'm grading for, is title, 6 paragraphs, works cited list with 4 works cited in it. Boom. Now, what's inside, let's dig a little deeper into that and what's inside those 6 paragraphs. There's our title. The first paragraph needs to do, that introductory paragraph needs to do 2 things. It needs to introduce your topic and then tell me the thesis about your topic. The big bulk of this is going to be that first one, that introducing your topic. In this case, this person's topic is eating disorders. Eating disorders are rapidly becoming more and more serious as time goes by. The disorders include anorexia, bulimia, binging, and purging. Anorexia is by far the most common. This disorder is characterized by weight loss due to an attempt to stop eating. You can see this person is just introducing me to some very basic information about their topic. Bulimia consists of eating large amounts of food in a short period of time, called binging, and then the purge comes into play. The victim usually starts all over again for the next meal. Those affected include children, adults, and teens, and it does not discriminate between male and female. Okay, there's the introduction. Here's some basic information about eating disorders. It affects all these different people. Here are the most popular kinds. We've got some basic introductory information. Now on to the thesis. There are innumerable resources available concerning these disorders. This essay seeks to assist readers in finding reliable information regarding these diseases. That's what a thesis is. A thesis is here's the work this paper is going to do. Here's what this paper is going to show or prove or demonstrate. It's like a hypothesis. If you're over in the science lab or doing a science experiment, the hypothesis is what your experiment is going to show or prove or demonstrate. The thesis in the paper, and in this case it's these last two sentences, is here's what this paper is going to prove or demonstrate, or here's the work it's going to do. In this case, this is more about here's the work it's going to do. I would suggest that for the bibliographic essay, your thesis, there's not that many choices for the thesis, because what your paper is going to do is, this is a paper about four sources. This essay seeks to assist readers in finding reliable information. This essay is going to analyze or describe four sources, four useful sources about this topic. That's really about the only kind of thesis you can have. You know, you can vary the words a little bit, but the only real thesis here is this essay is about four sources about this topic. You can get more specific, but so there's the first paragraph. You've introduced the topic to me, and then you've given me this thesis that is, this is a paper about four sources. First paragraph. Then each of these body paragraphs needs to describe and analyze if you can, but at the very least describe. Each paragraph needs to be about a source. So 4 body paragraphs, 4 sources for the paper, one source per paragraph, or 1 paragraph per source, whatever you want to think about it. You can see right here. An excellent place to start is Vivian Meehan's website, www.anad.org. Vivian founded the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders in the 1970s, and then it tells you the website offers a wide variety of information from symptoms and warning signs to statistics of those affected. The site also assists readers in finding therapists, medical care, and support groups for all eating disorders. You will know that you have done these body paragraphs correctly if I can read them, and I've never looked at your sources, I've never seen your sources, but after I read your body paragraph, I know what I would get if I looked them up. Like if I went and found them, I know what I'd be getting because you told me in that body paragraph. If you have effectively described them and analyzed them, I'll know what I'd be getting before I ever went to those sources and looked at them if you did this correctly. You can see this person went on, a most interesting source concerning eating disorders is a book. So their first source is a website, second source is a book written by Michelle Siegel, Judith Brisman, and Margot Weinshell, entitled Surviving an Eating Disorder. And then they tell you about, and then this person talks about the authors and how they're credible. The reader is shown guidelines on how to approach someone they suspect has an eating disorder, and how to use an I statement will help show how they feel. There's a checklist for family and friends to follow, so this person gives you some idea of what you'd be getting and seeing if you looked up and read this source. For people seeking to learn about eating disorders via television, a good source for them to consider is the program Intervention on A&E in episode 66 from season 5. So this person's third source is an episode from this television series. So now we've got a website, a book, an episode from this TV series, and then their last source is a scholarly article, an article from a scholarly journal. Those wishing to review a study investigating treatments for eating disorders will find an article entitled The Quality of Treatment of Eating Disorders, written by Simone Delaurie from the peer-reviewed International Journal of Eating Disorders useful. So this person's last source is a article from a scholarly journal. So you get each paragraph, walks you through, describes, and even analyzes for you. Like describing, and by describing I mean tells you the basics of what the source covers, tells you what you'd be getting if you looked at it, versus analyzing, which is you can get into that more comparative, you know, this source covers things that this other source doesn't cover, or this source doesn't mention some stuff that I know I might need in my research paper. You can get more analytical if you want to, but at the most basic level, the most basic thing you need to be sure you do is describe to me what each source has to say, what it has to offer, the information it has to give about your topic. You get all that, you get down here to the conclusion. There are many aspects to eating disorders and many more resources about them. Eating disorders are a very serious and growing epidemic in the United States. Hopefully reading and viewing the above sources will give the reader more insight into eating disorders. There you go, just 3 or 4 sentences concluding like what the paper did and reminding me what your topic is and what your perspective was on it. There you go. And then the MLA, the work cited in MLA format, author, title of the source, title of the container of the source, like if it's an article in a magazine or an episode, then in a TV show, there you go. You can, the scholarly journal article, there you go, author, title of the article, title of the journal, and then the date information, basic MLA format. That gives you an idea of what I'm looking for. When I physically go to look at these and read them and grade them, that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm working a little bit backwards, but let's jump back to the basic instructions here, which will tell you how this person got to what they did. This is under, so that sample essay that I looked at is Student Bibliographic Essay Sample 2. The instructions are right here, Bibliographic Essay Assignment, Guidelines, and Explanation. And you can see that right here. And very particularly, there's some information about why we're doing this assignment, but what you really need is the assignment information. For this assignment, you should either select a topic, you should select a topic from the Research Topics Master List. We already talked about that. You will then complete a bibliographic essay for this topic, which will consist of an introduction, 4 sources that are each analyzed in a paragraph that's 150 to 250 words apiece, and then a conclusion. So if you do this right, it probably needs to be at least 900 words. Most of the time when I get these and they're done well, they're between 900 and 1100 or 1200 words. They're often like 1,000, somewhere right in there. You'll know, so because the 4 body paragraphs are each going to be about 200 words, and then like 150 word introduction and then a short little conclusion, that's going to get you right around 900, 1,000 words. Your essay should consist of at least 3 of the following different kinds of sources. So you need 4 total, but 3 different kinds. So you can have 2 of the same thing, but you need 4 total, 4 body paragraphs, 4 sources, but 3 different kinds. So the kinds you have to choose from are a book, an article or essay from a print anthology, a newspaper or magazine article, a website devoted to this topic, like that person used the ANAD website, a whole website about the topic, a scholarly journal article, like peer-reviewed scholarly journal. It's pretty easy to find if you look in Galileo through the college's library website, government publication, some kind of relevant government publication about something, an interview with a relevant source. Like some of these are going to have, depending on your topic, there may be somebody who created something or is an expert in something. You find an interview with that person, or a film, a documentary, something like that. Like the person who did the eating disorders essays used that episode of the documentary series Intervention. But again, you need 4 total sources. You can have 2 of the same kinds, but you need 3 different kinds total out of this list. And then there's an explanation of what a bibliographic essay is. It introduces readers to a topic and evaluates resources related to that topic so that a person reading your bibliographic essay would have some idea of some good research sources to start with if they wanted to learn more about your topic. A good bibliographic essay is not a discussion of a topic so much as it is an introduction to the best resources available that discuss that topic. And a key purpose of the essay is to inform the reader of the relevance, accuracy, and usefulness of the sources. So you're telling me how good these sources are and how complete they are and how recent they are and those kinds of things. The one thing I will say in my experience from years of this assignment is the way that you will do this wrong, if you do this wrong, is that you will write a research paper. And what I mean by that is a bibliographic essay is a paper about sources. And what you should be writing about in the body of the paper is the sources. A research paper is a paper where you use sources because you use them to research. But the research paper is about your topic. What you were telling me in the bibliographic essay is what your sources have to say about your topic. When we get to the research paper later in the semester, you're going to use your sources, and you're going to tell me some information straight from yourself about your topic. But right now, what I want you to do is just tell me what your sources have to say about the topic. And then you'll get to talk later with the research paper. But I want you to start with what these other people who've already been in a conversation about this topic, tell me what they have to say first. And then you can say what you've got to say later in the research paper later in the semester. So again, if you do the way that students have done this wrong in the past is that they just get confused and write a research paper. The body paragraphs of this should be about your sources, and stay focused on your sources, and always be thinking this is what they have to say and this is what they have to contribute to the conversation about this topic. Stay focused on the sources, and stay focused on communicating to me as clearly and completely as possible what your sources have to say about this topic. So that gives you the bibliographic essay. There's bibliographic essay assignment guidelines right here. You can see right there, there's a couple of other resources, a guide to like outlining and building a bibliographic essay, a guide to analyzing sources if you're struggling with how to write the body paragraphs. There's a couple of sample A papers, the one we just went through, and then another one, which is number 1. I think the other one is about religious snake handling. Then, if you get down to the last part of this is the works cited list. If you get down to this and you're not sure how to make an MLA works cited list, and you're just like, I've never done this, or I've always used some online resource to make a works cited list, MLA format is really easy. And at the very bottom of the research project guidelines and information, there's a couple of resources. The Online Research and Documentation Guide from the Purdue University Online Writing Lab, OWL, and the Highlands College Library Guide to MLA 8, which is the most recent MLA. The Highlands Library Guide, if you pull it up, what it does is walk you through. MLA Works Cited is really just based on this list. Like if you start making an MLA Works Cited, the first thing you put is author. If you have an author, first thing's the author. The second thing is the title of the source, like the title of an article in a newspaper, a magazine, or a scholarly journal, or something like that. And then if you've got a container, the title of the container. Often when I teach this in class, I'll pull up a YouTube video, so that in this you'd put the title of the video, and then the title of the container would be YouTube. So you'd say like title of video, YouTube, because YouTube is the container of the video. Just like magazines and newspapers are containers of articles, and TV shows are containers of episodes. So like if you were using a TV show, an episode of a TV show like that person did in the eating disorders, you'd put episode title and then TV show title. Other contributors like an editor, most stuff's not going to have that. That's really a book thing. Again, version is a book thing, 8th edition, something like that. So a lot of stuff's not going to have that. The publisher, you know, the company that publishes something, if that's relevant. The publication date. The publication date is the last, especially on websites, the publication date is going to be the copyright date, the last updated date. You know, in books, you're often going to have a publication year, like it's going to say 2018. On websites, you're often going to have a last updated date, or a public, like again, like on YouTube, you're going to have a published date because it's going to say created, you know, April 2nd, 2019 or something like that. The date that this thing was published and appeared, wherever it is. The location, that's really only for books, because books are published in certain cities, New York, London, something like that. And then for websites, the URL, the www, whatever comes next. MLA uses the URL as the last piece of the citation. So if you've got questions, or you're not sure that your works cited is right, get in touch with me and I'll be happy to walk you through that. But there's a couple of guides. The Purdue OWL guide gives you a much more in-depth, it gives you a guide about how to cite everything. Books, magazines, electronic stuff, movies, podcasts. Like if you've got some source, they'll show you how to cite it. And you're welcome to use any source that the Purdue OWL lists. They give you the same kind of list that the Highlands website gives you, the Highlands Library website gives you. my hope is that that gives you some sense of how you might do this, how you could finish this, and that makes you feel comfortable getting started on and working on and finishing the bibliographic essay. If it doesn't, or if you've got any questions, please be in touch with me, because like I said, in my experience, this is the assignment that students have never done before, have no experience with, and so I will be very happy to help you with any specific questions that you have as you get into and dig into this. But hopefully that gets you going and gets you thinking in the right direction and steers you away from the common mistakes that I've seen students make. And I'm really excited to see your research and your analysis and descriptions of the sources that you find. So I look forward to reading those. And again, if you've got questions, please be in touch, and I hope that's helpful to you.